so hard, it's so hard, it hurts so bad when hearts are parted. Oh heaven knows, oh no, oh heaven knows, oh no. I try to guard it.
Hello, my name is Kevin. I'm a writer for Squid Magazine. So basically, I'm also a comic writer and blogger. So, comics, right? Basically, comics are a accumulation of the arts of basically art, as in drawing and writing. Okay, so I like to say the greatest comic book that probably ever exists would have been the one that Shakespeare and Leonardo da Vinci came together to create. And I believe this really shows just how powerful the comic book medium is, because it's essentially a combination of two very powerful forms of art coming together. Yeah.
And tell us about the different cultures and how they influence comics.
Okay, so for instance, American comics, we take them in their entirety, and then you take manga, that's comics from Japan, and you can obviously see just how much their cultures and environments have influenced the art styles. For instance, typically Japanese comics are black and white, okay, and obviously this is because of certain economical factors, etc. that factored in. So a traditional Japanese comic is black and white, but you go to Americans, they go full blown with the color, right? Americans traditionally, most of the time, deal with superheroes. That's not to say they don't do other genres or they didn't deal with others, but a lot of time they focus on superheroes. While you see Japanese focusing more on shonen. You get my point?
What's shonen?
Shonen it's a type of genre. It's aimed at boys. Okay, but Japanese also have shonen. They have shoujo. They have seinen, which is comedy. You get my point? So you realize different cultures, but they all have different perspectives, different ways, of basically translating their worldview into this medium. So yeah, various cultures do affect how comic books are. I dare say comic books are simply another way of us, different peoples, telling our own stories.
So what about the African comic book?
So that's what Africans are trying to do now. We are trying to get in on the game. So I think what a lot of us African creators are looking forward to seeing or witnessing is just exactly how well or how uniquely our work will tell Africa, will tell Africa's story, or how uniquely our work will showcase Africa to the rest of the world.
What examples can you tell us of African comics at the moment?
So for African comics, you can read Peda Studios' Newborn Saga. Okay, that's coming from Nigeria. Another interesting one that I personally quite loved was Love Brewed in an African Pot.
Yes.
Okay, it was actually a movie, and then they made it a comic to make it more accessible. Okay.
When did that happen?
Oh, I think about 2-3 years ago. But the movie itself is quite old. God, the movie is old.
Yeah.
The movie was, I think, before I was born.
80s. Yeah.
I was born 99. So I actually got to know that story through the comic book, not the movie.
Wow, that's really fascinating.
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I like to think of us as a renaissance of sorts. So, we are now coming up with all this creativity and, kind of finding our way, finding our path, to this paradise of African ideas and creativity. Yeah.
What about Ghanaian comics?
Ghanaian, okay, we try to look at it holistically.
Okay.
Ghana as in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm in Ghana, and then we Ghanaians are doing our part to fit into the whole bigger picture,
Okay.
which is African comics.
And what would you say is the single most exciting thing for you about a comic or comics? What's the most exciting thing for you?
Personally, I've always loved comics for some reason I've never been able to put my finger on. But I think what really fascinates me about them is just how well they combine storytelling and art.
Okay.
That's it. Just how well they combine storytelling and ridiculously powerful art.
Okay. And just lastly, could you give us some technical tips? So, for example, if you were drawing and you wanted to create a certain perspective, how would you do that?
Okay, so but basically, perspectives are tools that a comic artist and writer, right, would use in how do I say it? Giving off for projecting a particular atmosphere. Okay, so perhaps I had a city, right? I had a setting that I absolutely wanted my reader to feel, see, right, and experience. You realized I would use the bird eye perspective. So I'd draw my city, right, basically from the perspective of the clouds or from the perspective of a bird, with you looking down on it. That way you could really appreciate it. You could look at the landscape, you could look at the buildings, you could really experience what life would be like in that city. Right? In the same way, if I perhaps wanted to give off an atmosphere of dread, I might use the worm perspective. You know, the worm's view. You know, because like everything is kind of coming down, so you know it feels so big. You get my point, and you know you can really sense the powerlessness of whichever character is being focused on. So that's how we comic book creators tend to use perspectives. You know, there are numerous other techniques and how do I say it? Processes we go through to get our work out there. I mean, we make it look easy, but it's not that easy.
Well, thank you for giving us some of your time. And if we wanted to find out more about SquidMag, where could we find more?
Okay, so you could visit squidmag.inc. Ink is INK, right? So that's currently the blog. But if you also Google SquidMag, I'm sure you'll find us.
Okay, and your name once again?
Kevin Anamoah-Sampong.
Thank you so much.